is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA Golf. They've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
Here it is. Touchdown. Tyquan Thornton yet again.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
I think that if you were a fan base, whoever you like in college football, maybe the same team you like in basketball, you would want to know that the national championship banner is being dropped tonight from the Barrow Center for Baylor after their win against Gonzaga back in April in Indianapolis as they play Incarnate Word. Now, we mentioned Oklahoma State. Donnie Hand, I hope you're watching, and Oklahoma State fans, Blake and among you others in the chat room. We remember Mike Boynton's tearful conversation about the NCAA denying their appeal. Here is the NCAA, because they have nothing else better to do. Comments by Oklahoma State's personnel regarding its infractions case resulted in NCAA volunteer committee members, staff receiving threatening and offensive messages after being identified by name. That is unacceptable. Oklahoma State personnel encouraged individuals to circumvent the NCAA member-created process that every school agrees to participate in as part of their responsibility to each other. Further, there's a troubling trend of misstating facts about the infractions process by schools that disagree with the outcomes. Each member has the ability to seek change to the Division I infractions process. There's a review group underway looking at how to improve the process. Now, this is a part that I did not know. Sometimes I do forget. There's also a clear example of the work that needs to be done to address issues and behaviors like this moving forward with new NCAA Constitution Division I transformation process. We know that an adverse decision can be emotional, but personal attacks against individuals simply carrying out the responsibilities are inappropriate, unethical, potentially dangerous. One of the things that they did mention in this as well was the NCAA is not really the people that make this decision. It's member institutions that do, right? Well, I mean, they're the ones that hand it down. But they fired right back at Oklahoma State. Your thoughts about them doing this?
I mean, they shouldn't have named names, I think, individually. I think that's going to wind up bad because fans do stupid things.
Remember the official Huggins?
Yeah. I mean,
remember? Yep.
Yeah, fans do stupid things all the time. And there's kind of no end to the fan stupidity and things that they'll do. But at the end of it, though, the NCAA needs to know that when you make a decision like this over something that Oklahoma State self-reported, like they're gonna come back at you. Yeah, it's going to happen. So, maybe Mike Boynton erred in, listing off the committee members, but you could also have found out who they were by looking it up on the website.
Yeah, I mean, that's publicly accessible information, I suppose. I mean, I don't know. I don't know to what extent these threats went. I think that's, probably something we'd expect to happen, just some crazy fan sending threatening DM to somebody. Like, I don't doubt that happens probably on a regular basis. But, yeah, I think Oklahoma State had a really good point when they had their press conference just, a few days ago or whatever that was. And I think that certainly was impactful in the way that Boynton was, tearing up and crying and was so emotionally and visibly upset. I think that was really, powerful and impactful for a lot of people that were watching. But as far as, what the NCAA is commenting on, I mean, yeah, it's not good. If somebody's calling up and threatening, members of the NCAA over these penalties, I don't think that that's good, especially if they're serious threats or violent threats. But I don't know what to take from it, honestly, with you. I mean, yeah, it's. I think Boynton had a point when the penalties first came out, and I think the NCAA. I don't know if it should have been this public, but it is very interesting that they made this public statement about what I guess fans were doing. So. Fans just be a little smarter, I suppose. Yeah. And NCAA maybe be a little clearer in when you do hand down punishments, what exactly institutions are supposed to expect or what the best method is, because clearly Oklahoma State felt like they were doing everything right and there wasn't necessarily a reason to believe that there would be severely harsh penalties, and instead they did everything right and then got gobsmacked by the fact that, like, oh no, wait, you're not even going to the postseason this year. Yeah. And they clearly never thought that was going to be the case. So I can understand them being emotional, and I can understand, to some extent, I'll never be somebody who goes and like threatens somebody ever. But I can see where some people who are a little more loose cannons could, see that press conference from Mike Boynton and see that penalty and go, wait a second, what the heck's going on here? Now you got to be smart and not take that, to an actual level. But yeah, I mean, I understand people being upset, I guess, is my point.
By the way, Paul is being thrown under the bus, and Armstrong on the chat room is not doing anything about it. Sam Kim, wonder if you guys know the stream was interrupted for a second. Anybody there? No. Then Jen Witcher, did Paul crash into the system again? From JG, you read my mind. From AMAC, Paul did it. From S. Michael DeHart, wonder if Paul is in trouble again. From AMAC, tie Paul down in a chair, demoted. I mean, do we need to write him up again in his personnel file?
I'm not going to defend myself more than I need to. I've hardly been in there, but if not for the grace of me, most of the time,
my God,
in our relationship, Smokey, you and I would not be on the radio.
No, I would be selling insurance for somebody else. Yeah, I would be. And might be more sane. From Donnie, damn, you guys started talking about Barry Sanders and it froze up. Maybe like a defensive player when they're trying to track him down.
If you missed that, we were just talking about Oklahoma State's putting a statue up and just basically said it was long overdue. I mean, it's a smart move, and I was surprised to hear that they didn't have one already of Barry Sanders. But I think it's, very very smart to put one up. Absolutely.
That would explain the text we got from Raymond, reboot smoking. I just thought it was Raymond. Raymond.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. So, that's that. That's with the NCAA. And
I mean, what do you think? I mean, like, it's hard to have a big old HSO hot sports opinion on that. I mean, it's like fans reacted negatively to a negative story, and I can understand. I mean, I'm curious to see if I don't really feel like there's another move in this story. I mean,
no,
there's no appeal,
but I don't know. The NCAA could they? I understand they wanted to publicly, like they had their man.
They didn't have to do it like that. It may paint Oklahoma State
call the president.
Yeah, I mean, to be like a bunch of crazies or something. I do think that was probably a bit out of bounds. Now that you mention it, not necessary to do that, but I would just love more of an explanation of why you can get away with doing a lot worse stuff and not miss the postseason, but you can do something as simple as not that breaking rules or whatever, but I mean they handled it well and they still got taken out for it, and I don't get that.
When we have Scott Drew today later in the show at 5:30 or so, as they have that game tonight to unveil their championship banner and they open up the season in defense of their title, I asked him about Mike Boynton in Oklahoma State. Didn't give me a long answer, but gave me one that I was like, damn, you're right. Because they've been through where you can't compete for a conference title. Hell, they went through you couldn't play non-conference games. So we'll have that at 5:30 today. Now, coming up next, Penn State hosts number 6 Michigan in the Big Ten. It's pretty good teams in the Big Ten. I don't know how good. We're going to find that out in the end. Obviously, we know what the SEC has. They're 2 or 3 at the top, and the ACC and Pac-12 are trying to figure it out. The Big 12 might have 1 or 2 or 3, but they'll have to see the survival rate the next 2 or 3 weeks of attrition. But Greg Pickle covers Penn State for On3.com on their game with Michigan, James Franklin, and what's wrong with their running game on 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace, if in fact you have not put together what you're going to have tomorrow at the tailgate, and an 11 o'clock kick makes it a little bit difficult, but you get up breakfast tacos. And maybe you just get up earlier. Or maybe you don't go to sleep and you get something going on your smoker and your grill for what you need tomorrow when you arrive at McLean Stadium in the Brazos parking or wherever you might tailgate. Waco Custom Marketplace is open until 6 o'clock tonight, and they have all sorts of goodies for you. But one of the things, the big specials they have are the various fillets, big, thick, maybe 1.5 to 2-inch thick fillets. Bacon wrap, whether you're talking about select, they have the most delicious beef you could imagine. And that's where I get my steaks. And they cut them for me. The bone-in ribeyes I love, but I do get those big, thick fillets, bacon wrap. I love it. And then they're always good for stir fry or have it on the grill for a beautiful steak dinner. Waco Custom Marketplace, charcoal and pellet fuel if you need that as well. That's what they have, plus the hometown grocery store, the knickknacks you need, seasoning, sauces, crackers, Rotel. They have cold beer and wine. And a bakery, everyday fresh baked bread and kolaches. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line. Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity, if people have to pay things off, as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
We're now joined by Greg Bickle, Penn State on3.com, and Penn State, Michigan this weekend. In fact, tomorrow morning. How frustrating has it been? Penn State kind of got caught in that division where Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State are pretty good. And they can get themselves kind of back at least in a conversation of who they are. How important is tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I think it's a big one for both sides. You know, Jim Harbaugh and James Franklin obviously both could use a signature win right now. So could their programs. You know, for Michigan, they're obviously still in the Big Ten title hunt, still in the college football playoff hunt, but they need to win this game for that to continue to be the case. And for Jim Harbaugh to say that, you know, he's gone on the road to State College and, you know, Penn State's not ranked, but close to a ranked win. And for Penn State, you know, they want to be in the college football playoff rankings. And to do that, they have to win this one. You know, James Franklin is 3-4 against Michigan, so they've had some success against the Wolverines, but certainly not on a year-to-year basis. And, you know, it's just one of those games you have to win. You know, these two sides have obviously seen a lot of each other over the years, and the series has kind of been streaky in terms of teams getting hot and then not and things like that. But, yeah, I guess the real main takeaway for me is that, you know, when you look at this matchup, it's very close. You know, there's a reason the betting line's around to pick them, and at one point Penn State was favored, and at one point Michigan was favored. You know, this is a true toss-up. These teams have some strengths that play into the other's weaknesses to some degree, but you know, I picked at Michigan 27-20. I just think that they make a few more plays, but it's a huge game for both sides, no question.
So the game, you know, when they won that game early in the year against Auburn, that was impressive. And we know Auburn, they're at the bottom of the top 25, just lost their game to A&M. Was the Illinois game the one that was unacceptable among the losses?
Oh, yeah, there's no question. I mean, it's not even particularly close. You know, even though Penn State quarterback Sean Clifford was clearly still hurt following the Iowa game where he missed most of the contest there that Penn State lost. That was at least on the road. This Illinois team then turned around the next week and lost to Rutgers at home. So, Penn State gave up 357 yards rushing, and it was just not by any stretch of the imagination a pretty performance in that game, which was the last time Penn State was at Beaver Stadium. So, yeah, it's hard to look past, and when you look at the teams that are ranked ahead of Penn State, including two that they beat in Wisconsin and Auburn, I think it just kind of says all it needs to be said in terms of how people view that Illinois loss. I mean, it's hard to get out of your head the idea that Penn State had, and of course Illinois did too, they were finally successful, but, 7 tries from the 2-yard line to get in, or the 3-yard line rather, to get in, and Penn State wasn't able to do it. And they struggled and could not come up with a game-winning play either on offense or defense. So, yeah, that one certainly stung and left a mark, and it's kind of had a shadow over this season ever since because it was just not a pretty game, and it's a brutal loss. There's no question about that.
The running game has obviously not been very good. They're averaging just over 3 yards a carry. Kane has, under 300 yards? They're just not able to run the ball, and it kind of what you were talking about right there at the doorstep, and they couldn't slam it in. What's the problem there?
Well, it's a mixture of things, quite frankly. It's two that are not really fixable in season. They don't have a ton of speed at the running back position, and they don't really have a guy who can hit the hole and explode. I mean, Kevon Lee is probably their most complete rusher when he's, when he's not fumbling and when he's being decisive. But he's not always decisive. I thought he was more so over the last couple of weeks here. We'll see if that leads him to more opportunities and maybe the chance to become the guy in Penn State's backfield. But, they struggle up front, too. And that's not just the offensive line. They don't run block particularly well, whether it's receivers, tight ends, or the offensive line. Getting a push is a struggle. Being in the right place and the right gap is a struggle. And then even when they are, the running backs don't typically hit the hole well enough to pick up any more than a yard or two. So it's just been a lot going on with this Penn State offense when it comes to the run game. But, I mean, I don't want to say they've given up on it at this point because they haven't, but at the same time, Sean Clifford's averaging about 50 passes a game over the last few weeks, and that kind of says, what's going on, which is that Penn State is not going to try to run the ball any more than it has to and hope that it can hold up well enough in the passing game to win.
John Lovett was a Matt Rule recruit when he got to Baylor, and at times he was really good, powerful. Would have fit into the Baylor running game they have now with the wide zone blocking scheme, but he decided last year to move on. And I thought that I know Kane, and you mentioned obviously Lee, among others, but he just doesn't seem to have been much of a factor. Is he just not getting many touches, or is he just stuck in the depth chart?
It's a week-to-week thing. That's kind of the problem here is that, Penn State has not found a guy, him or anybody else, to be the lead dog. So, I mean, I think all of Penn State's running backs, for the most part, have started at least one game this year. Now, some of that was due to injury, some of it due to production. But, they run him out there from time to time as a change of pace back. And I think him and Kevon Lee kind of, and Noah Kane to an extent too, who's been playing through a couple of things, they kind of complement each other well. But none of them are at the point where they're good enough to consistently run 4, 5, 6 yards a carry. So, with John Lovett, I think he brought a great leadership presence into Penn State's running back room, and that shouldn't be discounted. But I also think it's fair to say that many people, myself included, thought he would have made a little bit more of an impact on this room and maybe even won the job after transferring in from Baylor, and that just really hasn't happened. They use him a fair amount. I believe he was the second most used running back against Maryland, and that may have been the case against Ohio State as well. But, yeah, it's just they don't have a guy who can take over the job, and they have a bunch of guys who are just kind of, I don't want to say plodding along, but it's kind of what it is, and they're just not producing at the level that Penn State running backs have in recent years.
How much did the talk about the various openings in coaching around the country at some of the blue bloods, and Penn State is a blue blood, but has that been a distraction? I know Franklin tried to say whatever he said, and that's been a while, but has it been a distraction?
It's interesting because if you asked 10 Penn State fans or if you asked 10 people who cover Penn State football, I truly think you'd find 5 in the camp of thinking it doesn't have any impact, or if it does, it's very minimal. And you'd have 5 who truly believe that a lot of Penn State's problems since the 5-0 start are tied to that and are tied to, James Franklin in the future and this, that, and the other thing. So it's a very divisive topic within the Penn State fan base. And, I find myself in the camp of, I just don't know how much of an impact that has. I don't believe James Franklin maybe in being interested in another job has anything to do with the fact that Penn State has not developed running backs or offensive linemen well enough to have a really good rushing attack, or even a semblance of one at all, for that matter. I don't think James Franklin maybe going to USC has anything to do with, the defense giving up 357 yards against Illinois because they couldn't set the edge, they couldn't fill gaps, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't. I think that, could there be a small impact? Maybe. I guess it's possible. But, ultimately, I just think that, the games that they've lost, they've played well, but they just haven't made enough winning plays. They haven't executed well enough. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're a huge number of plays away from having a better record, but they haven't executed well enough. And I just don't know if James Franklin has signed a 10-year, $10 million, $100 million contract, whatever you want to say, prior to the Illinois game, if that changes the outcome. Same with Ohio State, same with Iowa. I don't think those games were won or lost because the head coach might have interest or might not have interest in a job somewhere else. I just think that, again, it comes down to they have not made enough winning plays this year to come out on the right side of the win column in 3 games now.
How much do Penn State fans, the organization, the school, the program, how much do they feel like if Franklin stays, are they close to getting to win the Big Ten East, to winning the Big Ten, and to also be back in the picture legitimately a part of the college football playoff?
Well, so there's a lot of hope invested in the incoming recruiting class, which, of course, James Franklin staying will go a long way toward keeping that together. Down the stretch here, obviously, if he would move on, it'd be a lot more difficult, I think, to secure a group that's considered one of the top 10 classes in the country, mostly thanks to 2 4-star quarterbacks, Drew Aller from Ohio and Bo Prabula from the middle of Pennsylvania, basically York, Pennsylvania. 2 guys who fans really, truly are invested in and believe that they could be the kind of quarterback you need to go to the college football playoff, to win the Big Ten. So there's a lot of hope if James Franklin stays from a good portion of this fan base that him doing so will keep this class together and will send them on a path toward more success in the future. There's also, I would call it, at this point, I think it's a vocal minority that are just frustrated by the yearly, it seems, conversations about, will he stay, will he go, this and that, and the other thing. I think there's a part of the fan base frustrated by that. I think there's a part of the fan base that just wonders now, can he beat Ohio State? Can he consistently beat Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State to win the Big Ten East and get back to the Big Ten title game for the first time since 2016? I don't think that's a huge group. I think if you ask 100 Penn State fans, it's probably about 80 to 85 of them would be hoping and wanting James Franklin back and believe in what he can do. But there's certainly a part of it, and that might be a little bit too high. There's a part of it that is starting to wonder after this will be his 8th season in state college. Is the ceiling here? Has it already arrived? And I don't think it has, but I also don't, necessarily blame those people for wondering. I think it's a perfectly fair question at this point in time. So time will tell whether he's off to LSU or USC or some other job, whether he's at Penn State next year. But, there's a lot of moving parts here, there's no question, and how that shakes out will impact, the answer to this particular question you asked and how Penn State's future goes from here.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, Greg. Good stuff. Great stuff. Greg Pickle, PennStateOn3.com. Penn State, Michigan, tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock on ABC, and this is Sikkim 365 Radio. Coming up next, Jason King on the start of college basketball. His thoughts about Baylor, the team they have to defend the national title when they open up tonight at home against Incarnate Word. The national championship banner will be lowered. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, they're not waiting till the end of the month. Their Black Friday sales event going on right now. Beautiful, elegant, third-row seating. The Jeep Grand Cherokee L in stock at Allen Samuels. Also, 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee. The Laredo or Limited. Total values of $3,500 or 0% financing. for 72 months going on right now, and no payments for 90 days. First responders get an extra $500 in cash. Meanwhile, the top spot overall when it comes to the first brand truck, back-to-back Motor Trend Truck of the Year, the vehicle voted number one. The truck voted number one, the initial quality by J.D. Power. 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab and Lone Star, Quad Cab Lone Star, can get right now values up to $7,250 or 2.9% for 72 months and $2,000 in bonus cash. That's pretty good with what they do with Jeep and what they do with Ram and what they do for you, the customer. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, what a great staff. Ted Teague runs that mothership at Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Masters of Barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Whoops. Here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. One note about Baylor. Xavier Howard, Miami beat Baltimore last night. Kind of a surprise. Xavier Howard, 49-yard fumble return for a touchdown as they stunned the Ravens and also Lamar Jackson. We're now joined by Jason King, college basketball analyst, writer, columnist, understands the sport. He's a go-to guy for us, no question, as Baylor opens up against Incarnate Word, and we've mentioned it 1,000 times today, that they lower the banner for a national championship. Jason, you have covered a lot of teams. You've seen a lot of national championship teams. We know about last year. What do you think that moment will be like tonight at the Farrell Center?
Oh man, I think it'll send goosebumps throughout the crowd. It'll be exhilarating. I just hope that there's a decent crowd there to witness it, or a good one. I don't know if they were able to get some of the guys back or not that had moved on. It's probably pretty difficult to do at this point in the year, but yeah, I just part of me just to be blunt, part of me kind of wishes they'd have waited till it was like maybe a Saturday afternoon game against the top 25 opponent, a game when you knew things were going to be, sold out or whatever, or close to it. But I also understand the need to get that banner in there, let every team that comes in, let every fan that walks through there see it as, from the beginning of the season moving forward. So I don't know. I mean, it's just been a special, magical run. I mean, last year's team, even the team before that, I mean, we, as people that follow Baylor athletics, we've been pretty spoiled watching, the Jared Butlers and the Davion Mitchells and the Freddie Gillespies of the world. So hopefully tonight they'll start a new chapter that'll give us a lot more good things to cover.
Jason, do you think that this team is ready to contend again right away for a national title, or is it one that needs to build? The one I think maybe people forget, the one that was last year's team was built over 3 years.
Right. I think there's enough pieces back, and not just pieces, but key pieces from last year's team that I don't think it's out of the question at all that they could contend for a national title. Just think of all the teams that we've seen, make the Final Four over the years, whether it's a VCU or a Butler, George Mason, or someone like that. You didn't expect it. I mean, Baylor's going to enter the season as a top 10 team, and if they go into that tournament at the end of the year with a lot of momentum, I definitely bet they could make the Final Four and contend for it. I think people are sleeping on them. To be real honest, I think that even though they are, I think, ranked 8th going into the season, I still feel like more people are talking about Kansas, more people are talking about Texas and the Big 12, and they don't realize how good of a player Adam Flagler is, and they're not giving Matthew Myers his credit. They don't know about LJ Cryer's background, and everyone wants to talk about Remy Martin at Kansas, the big transfer from the Pac-12. How come James Akinjo is not getting mentioned? He was a first-team All-League player. How can people not expect Jonathan Chamachacho to make huge strides during the offseason? I know he did, and I think we'll see it, starting tonight. So I think this is a team, full of great pieces and probably really good chemistry right off the bat. And, it may take a while, for them to really gel and to where we see them playing at a, real crisp, clean level like we were used to. But I think it's all there to do a lot of damage without question.
Jason, what's your best guess? I mean, I know there's some givens, like a Matthew Meyer, but what's your best guess on the starting lineup and kind of how that works out tonight?
Ooh, God, I wasn't prepared for that. But I mean, because there's so many things you could do.
Yeah.
When we saw Scott Drew the other day, we were in studio interviewing him. I don't think he even knew at that point. I know that Flagler's been a little banged up with a hand injury, so I don't know where he is at this point. But let's say he's healthy. I mean, I'm definitely thinking, Flagler and Akinjo and Meyer and probably Kendall Brown and John, but or Flo. I mean, it depends on if you're going to go with two bigs or even though John's not a traditional big, but those would be the guys. And but you got LJ Cryer right there knocking on the door to get in the lineup, along with several others. So that's kind of how I'd look at it off the bat, though.
Of the three highly rated, we know Langston Love's out. Unfortunately, he's out for the year. But with Sohan playing in Europe, and he had played in the United States at a high level, and of course Kendall Brown is supposed to be just freakish. They've really done most of their damage in recent years without that new incoming star out of high school. Mm-hmm. They went away from that, and they admitted to that. They found fits, but how good is Kendall Brown?
Man, I tell you what, just you can always kind of tell when a coach is BSing you, and when his excitement's legitimate. And I felt like talking to Scott Drew the other day about Kendall Brown. I mean, I think he's one of those rare freshmen that's going to be ready to compete and play huge minutes and make a huge impact right off the bat. And maybe you don't see it all the time on the scoreboard, but just the way he's involved in so many, impacts the game in so many areas, whether it's defense, passing, bringing the ball up the court, rebound and scoring. And I mean, I think he's going to do so much for this team. And I think they need to just make him a focal point from the get go. And if you have to play through some growing pains with him, that's fine. But this is, the most highly touted recruit they've had at Baylor since 2011. And, hopefully we'll get a good dose of that tonight. And, so he's the guy I'm looking forward to seeing the most. But, you mentioned the newcomers. They're all so different. I mean, with Sohan, that's a guy that on paper you think, well, maybe he's the guy that doesn't play a ton this year. Maybe he's the 8th or 9th man. But, talking to people around the program, you think, like you said, the fact that he's, has been groomed overseas for such a long time and is probably a little bit further along than most freshmen when it comes to just X's and O's and understanding the game and being a good teammate and sharing the ball. And plus his skill level is so high especially for his size. I mean, I think he's going to be, one of probably the best 4 or 5 players on this team, probably by midseason, if not earlier. So I think he's going to make a big impact. And, obviously Akinjo, should be a starter and one of the best guards in the league, I would think, from day one.
Do you think that, that like maybe Jordan Turner or Dane Danger might have an impact on this team this year?
Entering the season, I think those guys are probably back a little bit, maybe in the 8, 9, 10 role, but that's not to say that they couldn't surface and do some things. Turner's been around for 2 years now. He's, the culture that guys like Butler and Mitchell and Vital and Teague helped instill. Hopefully that's rubbed off on him. And a lot of times when some of these new guys might be going through growing pains or trying to adjust or whatever, it's guys like Turner, program guys that, have been around that are there to kind of help pick up the slack for a while. So maybe we'll see him contribute early. I'm not sure. And Danger, that's kind of a big question mark. He's one of the players I just can't wait to see, just because of his size and his aggression. And he's just it seems like he'd be such a load to handle in the paint. And that's something other than, maybe John. That's something that this team doesn't really have. And I think he's a guy that they could really use if he's ready. And the good thing is I think they have enough depth and enough pieces to where they're not going to have to play him until he is ready. So hopefully we'll see it soon.
Jason, obviously defense has been, the bread and butter for this program here as of late, and you lose, big-time players like Davion Mitchell and obviously Mark Vital as well. What are your thoughts on the defense and having to replace some guys, but also obviously feeling good about what you have on campus?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the thing with Baylor, and I'm glad you brought that up, it's so many of the little intangibles that were lost with Butler and Mitchell and Vital and Teague that to me are the biggest question mark is like, how do you replace that? It's not even so much numbers. When you look at scoring stats and stuff or steals, it's just more like the presence they created out there and the culture they helped create and the way they, their energy and their swagger, rubbed off on everyone. They carried themselves like, they were the best players in the country, and then they were, but they, I think by the end of their careers evoked fear in opponents because they were, even though they, you saw them against Gonzaga, they were cocky in a good way. And maybe that's not the wrong word, but had that air about them. And I think, and so now it's like, okay, who on this team is going to set that tone and who's going to, rub off on everyone like they rubbed off on everyone. And I think it's that presence and that aura and that just confidence that I think this team is going to have to get. And maybe they'll have it, from the get go, and maybe it'll take a while to develop. But it's those little, and you mentioned defense. That's where you really saw it the most with those departed guys. And so to me, that's what is going to be interesting is how quickly does this team find that and where does it come from?
Jason, with the Big 12, they're picked third because Texas has a bunch of key transfers. Kansas has, you mentioned Remy Martin earlier, and Bill Self, it kind of has, maybe if you watching the game against Michigan State, it looks like he's got his team again for the first time in a couple of years. What do you think about the Big 12 and Kansas and Texas ahead of Baylor right now in their prospects?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call between those three. I always like guys that have experience and that have done it before. That's why I would probably put Baylor, ahead of those guys. I mean, so many people focus on what Baylor lost. They're forgetting about what they're bringing back. But I will say I was pretty impressed with Kansas Tuesday night as far as, how good they looked at this early. I was, expecting them to be a little more disjointed, but they looked really, really good, and they're going to be really deep. I know he loves what he's got up there. And, Texas, I mean, they obviously have all the pieces, but, I don't think people realize how difficult it is to bring guys in from all these different schools and in a matter of 3 or 4 months, have them, go out on the court and be a cohesive unit with everyone on the same page. And, no one trying to get theirs and get their own shots and play hero ball. I mean, it's a lot easier said than done. I mean, Chris Beard's been bringing in transfers to Texas Tech in the last 2 years. They were guys we talked about all off season. In the last 2 years, I think they finished 6th in the league and barely squeaked into the tournament. So the guys he has at Texas are a little more high profile, and that's good, but it could also be bad. So it'll be really interesting to see how quickly they develop. But if they can put all those puzzle pieces together, I mean, it's going to be a pretty special thing at Texas. But with this team, but I still would lean toward Baylor. Finishing probably first. I would be disappointed if Baylor finished anywhere below second in the league.
What were your thoughts on Mike Boynton and his response to the NCAA? And the NCAA obviously had a follow-up after, Oklahoma State fans, I guess, got a little wild. But what were your thoughts on that punishment handed down to Oklahoma State basketball?
I think it's ridiculous and sad and a bad look to the NCAA. And, I think all of us that have been around Mike Boynton in the small bit that we have been around him, we really like him and like his, makeup and demeanor and swagger and his, fearlessness when it comes to speaking out. So I was glad that he went after them and said those things. I mean, those penalties that occurred at Oklahoma State occurred when these guys were barely even in high school. And the fact that those players are having to pay the price for it is ridiculous. And the NCAA is, for one thing, has been so slow to investigate all of these cases and to reach a conclusion. I can't believe Kansas still hadn't received word on its punishment. So I just think that the penalty or the punishment doesn't really fit the crime at Oklahoma State. I think it's way too harsh. I know the NCAA is trying to make an example out of people, but I just don't think it's fair to those guys. And I'm glad he said what he said.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. Look forward to having you on over the next several months and part of the big one, too, with Paul when it comes to our college basketball coverage like JD does with Paul during football season. All right, do we have time here for the I
think JD's going to be with us. We just need to guard against the wedding.
Yeah, we got to do that. Grayson having kids, JD getting married. Do we have the Barry Trammell question we could put here? We'll have KJ Morton, former Baylor cornerback, coming up, and then also Scott Drew at 5:30 on this opening night for Baylor. Here is the question from Barry Trammell, longtime columnist of the Oklahoman, to Lincoln Riley, and it's a great question, and we've kind of discussed this a couple of times before, and here it is. Okay. Oh, we don't have it. All right. It sounded like somebody playing the piano, like kind of tuning up the piano. So, okay, here we go.
Yeah, Lincoln, when you came into the Big 12 as a young student at Tech, Baylor football was not very good. It was that way for a long time. But 3 times now, they built themselves back up. Art built a great program. They had their scandal. Matt Rule comes in. He builds them back up. He leaves, goes to the NFL. They have to retool. Now Dave Aranda has them 13th in the nation. What's happened at Baylor from an outsider's point of view? What's happened at Baylor to go from just the bottom of the Big 12 to no matter what happens, they're a consistently really good program?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of things. I mean, I think they've hired, here's of recent, some really good coaches. I think they've been, really good with their hires. As you said, Matt did a tremendous job. Dave's come in, done a great job. And honestly, they probably, if not for COVID last year, they had a better team than what their record showed. I mean, first year staff and all that coming in, I can't imagine. But they've done a great job. They've invested. They spent money. They built a new stadium. A beautiful stadium right there on the river. I mean, they've got really nice facilities. They're in a great location as far as recruiting. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you look at it and say it should be a great job, and I think it took some momentum, and once they got the thing that they did, I think was really smart is when they got some momentum and started winning some games, they pushed on the gas, man. Like they kept pushing it. They didn't sit there and, well, we're happy that we won some. Let's go build a new stadium. Let's go build new facilities. Let's go invest. Let's go, let's really push it. And I think they've benefited because of that. So you got to give them a lot of credit.
Well, and you do, because they have rebuilt it 3 times. The first time it took a while because of 4-8, RG3's injury, 4-8, then 7-6, and then Rule 1-11, 7-6, 11-3, and Aranda 2-7 last year with a strange year, and here they are at 7-2, and right there in front of them, still a chance to be a part of the Big 12 championship game. With the disappointing loss to TCU, they can pretty much nuke that if they can win tomorrow at McLean Stadium. So that's Lincoln Riley. Great question from Barry Trammell. We have discussed that before, what it means, the resiliency of the Baylor football program, despite sometimes self-inflicted wounds. When we come back, he played cornerback back when the third year, Art Briles, 2010. Actually, the fourth year, Phil Bennett hired as defensive coordinator in January of 2011. They had to get better on defense. They weren't good, and they weren't really all that good very often in 2011, but they were spectacular with RG3, and then some junior college help arrived. One of them is KJ Morton. He's next. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Ideal MRI, Dr. Rob Maxey. Ideal MRI, Al LeBlanc. Ideal MRI with great Texans specialists inside of their businesses in the Central Texas marketplace off of I-35, the access road that goes to Highway 6 to the west. IdealMRI.com has a massive, state-of-the-art technology MRI machine to find out whatever is wrong with you. My brother, I talked to him earlier on the phone. He told me at an MRI he hadn't been sleeping well. His shoulder hurt. It reminded me of something I used to deal with 5, 6, 7 years ago. He has a torn rotator cuff, and that can be painful. Went to get an MRI. That's what they did. They diagnosed 3 different tears in his shoulder. So, well, that's what an MRI machine can do. That's what Ideal MRI can do for you. Maybe it's a knee ligament. I hope not. Maybe it's a torn lumbar. I hope not. Maybe it's something else. I hope not. But that's what they'll find if something hurts that much and your doctor wants to get a better picture of it. They have a state-of-the-art technology machine. And on top of that, $497 or less every single time, and maybe less. And the average is $1,100 to get an MRI. So if your doctor or you want a better diagnosis of what hurts so much it shuts you down, go to IdealMRI.com.
At Allen Samuels in Waco, we're celebrating the Black Friday sales event. Ram, bringing the first truck brand to take the top spot overall in new vehicle initial quality by J.D. Power. With a new 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star, you can get total values up to $7,250 or 2.9% for 72 months, plus $2,000 in bonus cash. All first responders get an extra $500 and no payment for 90 days at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS have been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA golf. They've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
The other way, can they beat it on the fly? Flagler,
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Joined by former Baylor cornerback KJ Morton. KJ, man, great to hear from you. I was watching a hype video from Brock Nolan. He's one of the guys that puts them up on occasion with Baylor. And one of them, of course, RG3 to Terrence Williams and all these other things that were going on. But it was your hit on Sterling Shepard in 2013. That was the year you guys won a Big 12 title. It was at Floyd Casey. Do you still recall that specific play? I mean, that was a collision.
Yes, sir. I see it every time I put in hardest hit on Google, on YouTube. Wherever I put hardest football hit, that hit always comes up. And, man, it still feels like yesterday. I still remember, Coach Bennett, man, who's the best coach of all times. He prepared us for third downs. Every day in practice, we would always go over third downs. And that was a key down for us because, after that you get one more down and we get the ball back. So we practiced that play all over and over and over, and it was just basically Sterling Shepard going across the field on a drag route. They was trying to run a clear-out route. And so we already knew that he really wasn't going to throw the ball deep to my guy, so I just kind of, creeped off a little bit. I really wanted to rob it and catch an interception, but he threw it a little bit too quick, so I couldn't get there for the interception. So the next best thing to do was to, just lay the boom.
Well, and you did. Now, I recall back then targeting was there, but they changed it. Like maybe even the next year, the targeting could actually be reviewed. Is that correct?
Yeah, they did, but now targeting is even worse now, man. I'm watching football, and, it's a lot of targeting going on now. But back then, targeting was specifically if you lead with the head. And,
right.
That hit was so fast and it was so violent and the collision was so loud that everybody just thought that it was head-to-head. But when they went back and reviewed it, which I'm, never a dirty player, and I got called so many names for that hit, but when they went back and watched it, you clearly see that I led with my shoulder because I really could have led with my head, and but I didn't want to hurt anybody, and I didn't want to hurt myself. So I led with my shoulder, and it just was a bang-bang play.
Again, because I'm recalling it's changed over the years, was that not only 15 yards, were you ejected?
Yeah, it was 15 yards. I was ejected, and if you look at if you go back and watch the play, Ahmad Dixon, he got a penalty too. So really, they end up they was at the middle of the field, and after the play was over, they ended up getting like 30 yards because they gave me the unsportsmanlike, the targeting. Then they gave Ahmad Dixon unsportsmanlike. Then they gave us a sideline penalty. So they gave us like 3 other penalties after that. And they did try to eject me from the game, but once they went back and reviewed it, they ended up they overturned the targeting, and they let me come back in the game. So that was super exciting. But that set the tone. And that was Baylor football there.
It was, and again, you guys had beaten them with RG3's throw to Terrence Williams when Oklahoma scored, and then Bob Stoops called a timeout early in the drive, and it kind of ignited. I think it kind of pissed off the coaching staff, right? And they said, "Okay, let's go get it," right?
Yeah, they was coming on the field as well, So. Man, that atmosphere of that game, that was championship type energy right there. That side it up for us.
So what was it like at that time? Because Baylor, we know, chip on the shoulder. It might even still be to this day. But you were trying to claim your territory. In 2011, RG3 won the Heisman Trophy. You guys go to a bowl game. You win it in that shootout. But you beat Texas. You beat Oklahoma. You started to get you beat TCU early in the year. And then in 13, you did all that again and won the Big 12 title at Floyd Casey. To close out the stadium, turn out the lights when you beat Texas and Mac Brown. What was it like being on those teams trying to be, hey, we can do this too?
Just coming in from the first day I came in, I knew how serious it was when Coach Browse came to Georgia and Coach Bennett came to California to sit down in my living room. And, man, I had a lot of other offers, big offers, but those guys were so serious. And when I came on my visit, I met RG3, and the atmosphere before I even got there, it was just so serious. And I knew that, hearing him talk, they was only missing a certain few pieces. And I just wanted to be a part of something special, legendary. And, RG3 told me if I come, we can do this. And Coach Bennett was telling me basically like, hey, man, we need you. And it felt good to go somewhere where I was needed. And that championship game, man, it was tremendous. Nobody really believed in us, but we believed in ourselves. And the whole year, we just always kept saying 0-0. Next week, 0-0. Let's start over. And we just took it day by day. And Coach Cos, man, he instilled so much great stuff into us. Man, he had us thinking we can run through a wall. And everybody who was there came from different walks. But everybody believed, and everybody was Christians, and everybody put it together, and we just went out there and we had a big chip on our shoulder because Baylor wasn't doing so good then back in the day, and we just wanted to prove to everybody that it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and that was our motto, and we was gang green, and we lift each other up. Everything wasn't always perfect, but we was always there for each other, and it was a real brotherhood. And Texas and Oklahoma, like, they was just another team to us. Like, we was Baylor, and we wanted everybody to know that it was a new bear in town. And That's what we did, man. It was super great.
Yeah, and you guys, you did plant your flag in the Big 12 championship room. Then they followed up after you left. And I remember when Bennett was hired, and there were times. I mean, you guys had some tough moments. It was hard. It was learning on the fly, playing junior college football. All of a sudden, you're playing against another level. Even though I know how good the junior college talent can be, how much of a bond did you and Joe Williams have together, knowing that both of you were there to try to just give them a chance?
Man, that's my brother. That's my brother from another mother. It's so crazy. I just talked to Joe yesterday, and it's like, man, we still talk about them days. And if you never went to junior college, you'll never understand like how rough junior college really is. A lot of people don't make it out of junior college, but if you make it out, man, it molds you. It molds you to a fine man. It's like a diamond in the dirt. Like it grinds you. It's that grind. It's gritty. It's nothing pretty. So leaving junior college, going to a university where you got 4 meals a day. Like you got tutors. You got a real weight room. That's a big culture shock. When you used to working out outside, you eating whatever you can afford at the time. It's no scholarship, so you got to pay for everything. And just going to that next level, man, it was a blessing. It was a big blessing. And like I said, me and Joe was very appreciative. We had other guys that went to junior college that was at Baylor, and like it was it was very different, but it was a blessing. It was basically seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Like if you stay down long enough, you'll get to where you want to get. But it was a grind. It was a big grind, and me and Joe were super excited to play for Coach Bennett. He gave us the opportunity, man. He really believed in us, and we just wanted. I wanted to. Whatever Coach Bennett wanted me to do, I wanted to do it because I wanted to make him happy because he gave me an opportunity. And like I said, everybody knew me and Coach Bennett had a real relationship. He was really like a father to me, But he always showed me tough love. I could never do anything good enough for him. And at the end of everything, man, when we won that championship, man, he told me he was proud of me, and that was a good surreal moment, man, because he rolled me hard now. He rolled me really hard, but he pushed me to my best potential, and that's why I always love Coach Bennett for that.
Question about this year's Baylor's team, and again, just 2 years ago, they were playing Oklahoma at McLean and had them dead to rights, and they just let them off the hook. Oklahoma, that pedigree of who they've been. They came back to win the game, then beat Baylor in a tight game up in Arlington for the Big 12 title. What do you see? Have you watched them much? The defense, I mean, they got beat up pretty badly and mentally with what happened to the quarterback, Chandler Morris at TCU. Do you watch them much?
Yeah, man, I really just started back watching them, man. I reach out to some of the guys, and I know Baylor, man, that number 8 on defense, man, I tell him congrats all the time. He's a monster, man, and he's representing that number 8. He's flying around, and they got another pretty good corner, number 3, and some good linebackers, man. They got a great front four. They got a lot of pressure, and I feel like they can really do it. I really feel like they're going to upset. I know they're going to upset Oklahoma. If they just go out there and play by play and play together like I've been seeing them play, they play some great football, man. That TCU game, man, I was disappointed, but they play some great football. They got a good offense. They got some weapons, so I really feel like they can pull it off on Oklahoma. It's just they got to stay together. They can't get down, and I know the coaches are going to put them in some great places to make great plays. I see that they got one of my coaches from my high school, man. It tripped me out. Chancey Stuckey.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Man, he's from the same hometown in Georgia that I'm from. He's like, I looked up to him in high school. I was in like elementary. He was the best quarterback to ever come through my little town.
That's awesome. I'll tell him. Well, I mean, he knows that, and we don't get to talk to the assistants much during the season, but if I bump into him, I'll make sure I said that you said hi, and I'll tweet something at him with your quote as well. So what a lot of people don't know, you lost your mother, and obviously that's never a good time, but what a day. You find out your mother has passed away, and then what?
Man, the day I found out my mom passed, I get a call from the mother of my daughter, and she's just telling me, she's calling over and over and over. I'm thinking everybody's just calling to send their condolence for my loss, and I finally answered, and then she was like, "Hey, I've been calling you like 30 times." I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on?" She was like, "Well, I'm pregnant," and I'm like, "What?" And so that was a surreal moment, because my emotions is already all over the place, and to get news that I'm having another kid is tremendous, and I just hang up the phone because I don't, my emotions all over the place. And that moment forward, I knew that it was a girl because my mom always promised me she would never leave me, and man, it's so it was a bittersweet feeling, That day, the day my mom died, I wrote a letter to my daughter saying that she didn't get to meet her grandmother, but her grandmother will always live inside of her. And everybody's like, "How do you know it's a girl?" And I'm like, "I just know." And so we find out a couple of months later, it's a girl. And I just knew that was my mom, because she always promised she would never leave me. And my daughter is everything, man. She means everything to me. She was really my light in the darkness. Me and my mom, man, everything I did, my career, my football, graduating school, my mom was my drive. I always wanted my parents to have a better life than they was living, and I wanted my kids to have a better life than I had. So I just wanted to break the cycle and be that it. I wanted to graduate, be able to provide for my kids and my family. And my daughter, man, she gave me that drive again, because I kind of lost it after my mom. And my daughter, she's just like mom, man.
It's like passing the torch, in a way for you. It's Kay Ellie, is that her name?
Kay Ellie, yes, sir. Kay Ellie. I gave her my mom's name as her middle name, so it's Kay Ellie Dexter Morton.
It's awesome, man. Man, I always love talking to you. You have that passion that you had when you first arrived on campus, and the way you played the game, and how you helped Baylor become just not a bowl team, but a team that's better than that, and part of that history that they're trying to get back to now. KJ Morton in Washington, D.C., former Baylor cornerback. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. All right, thank you to KJ Morton. And I just randomly I texted him and talked, and good to hear from him. He's up in Washington, D.C. That's a great story about that day when his life changed in two different ways. Lost his mother, found out he has a new daughter, a new daughter was on her way. Hey, tomorrow at Brazos Parking, across from McLean Stadium, the Sikkim 365 tailgate. Ashley put this up in the site earlier. Milo Food and Drink service starts at 8:30 tomorrow, goes until about 10:30. Breakfast tacos, nachos, sour cream. I have a hard time saying those two words. Sour cream, guacamole, salsa, I don't know, in full bar. And then also they have the can jam and ping pong, spike ball, dodgeball, 40-yard dash, muckle, pop a shot. That's tomorrow morning, 8:30. Milo drink and food service at the Sikkim 365 tailgate at Brazos Parking.
By the way, we need to get the TVs on because Cincy and South Florida started. So they're in the first quarter, and we could have a little game action going on in the background over this final 45 minutes or so. But, 0-0, just a few minutes into the game now, but they are kicked off at South Florida. So, number 4 Cincy trying to stay unbeaten and not have so much of a close call.
Yeah, they need to drill somebody. And if it was a North Carolina men's basketball game, it would be up. I know that. Because our producer, it's Armstrong.
The TV would be on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, versus Auburn he claims all the places that his family went to school.
Yeah.
Which I guess you can do. If you have the bigger the family, the more places you can go. But Armstrong can literally be a T-shirt fan for 6 schools.
Yeah, like he's picked everybody who's dominant. Well, he's a Texas guy. He went to Baylor, but there's a little bit of that blood in his heart, like you and A&M. But
I didn't pick these schools.
What do you mean? It's who you like. It's not like
no.
It dissolves in your blood or something.
Yeah, no, it does. It does.
All right, so men's basketball is North Carolina.
Does dissolve in your blood.
Why North Carolina?
My dad went there, and my brother goes there.
Good reason.
And I grew up going to 3 games a year.
Okay, what if it would have been Vanderbilt?
Yeah, see, the thing about it is convenient that North Carolina also happens to be really good at basketball.
There you go.
My friend probably wouldn't be a big fan of
It's like Craig and
basketball.
Jennifer with Oklahoma. They didn't have a choice. I mean, I tried to sway them, and back in the 90s, there was a little bit of that, but eventually that was just in the blood.
And then like Auburn. I like Auburn because my brother went there. And then, you watch Auburn initially just because you're like, I want them to win so my brother's happy. But then eventually that turns into now I care about Auburn.
My brothers used to be in the NFL. Robert loved the Packers. Michael loved the 49ers. Craig didn't care. And then I was obviously a Washington Redskins because that's who they were when I was growing up. And I like the Packers and 49ers. They're two of my alternate teams. Still do. Not so much the 49ers, but yeah, it was kind of neat because the Packers at that time, they were winning Super Bowls with Bart Starr and Vince Lombardi and company.
Was there ever a moment where Craig had a Nebraska
shirt?
He
was. I think he was in, and it was during the time when Oklahoma was kind of in their funk with John Blake and Howard Snellenberger and Gary Gibbs, and so it was kind of, I kind of had him leaning, and then came Bob Stoops, and all hell broke loose.
Well, really what came was just getting older and going to school, and everybody's at Texas or an A&M or an Oklahoma or whatever. It's a Big 12 country. It's not, like Nebraska was in the Big 12, but that was kind of their turning point when they separated. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even know how it came about entirely, but grew up watching those games, and, yeah, I haven't put that much thought into it, but at least Armstrong either has really, really bad days or 500 days or like the best days ever if all the teams win, 7-0 or something.
And look, I know this, that my dad, Pete Catalina, spent his entire life, every waking moment he had, trying to convince me that there was one college in the world, and that was Texas A&M. And ultimately, when it came down to brass tacks, it failed miserably. Like right at the goal line. Right on the goal line.
And over and over
right on the goal line.
Cincinnati just fumbled, by the way, and South Florida recovered around, I think, the Cincinnati 30. So that's early on in that game after completed past 6 minutes into the game.
He had me to 18 years old exactly. And then
right on the cusp.
Right on the cusp.
And you broke free like a damn wild horse.
Yep.
And not a bad place to break free and watch.
They moved here
Seminoles
when I was a freshman at FSU. And so he would go around and he would tell people like, yeah, he's at Florida State now, but he's probably going to transfer to A&M. And one of his friends sat him down and goes, Pete.
He's not going.
They just won the national championship. Playboy rated them the number one school to meet girls. The number one party school.
Ahead of Arizona State?
Yeah, that year, that particular year, and he goes, "What do you think he's going to College Station, Texas, right now?" Yeah. it popped my dad's bubble really bad.
Cincinnati would struggle in the Big 12 this year. They're unbeaten right now. Flyover State fan David Smoak. How did Craig and Jennifer become Oklahoma fans again? Their entire side of their mother, Cindy's, and their family, all. I mean, as crimson as you could possibly be. Lived in Shawnee, Oklahoma for a long time. Brother played baseball there. Other one played at Oklahoma State. Both really good baseball players. And you didn't have a choice. It was kind of just soaked into their blood. Am I right, Craig?
I mean, basically, the whole side of the family is Oklahoma fans. You said my Uncle Terry Jolly played at OU baseball, played under Gene Stevenson. Still was a huge Gene Stevenson fan for years and years and kept in contact and always, kept up with Oklahoma baseball program. He was also at Wichita State when Wichita State baseball had a lot of good years, was an assistant coach there.
Joe Carter was there. He recruited him.
He helped recruit Joe Carter to Wichita State. But he's an OU baseball guy. And, even though I had a grandpa go to Arkansas, my grandmother, she didn't go to college. She was just a Shawnee, Oklahoma girl who, met my grandpa, who was a minor league baseball manager and player at Shawnee Wolves minor league team. And, I think she converted him, and she converted everybody because she was the greatest woman that ever walked this earth. So, she was an OU fan, and down the line, it made me one as well. So that's kind of how it happened.
Here is from the 469. What are the chances Oklahoma losing? I say 65%, in my opinion, that Baylor wins, dominates from the start to finish. The 469 is very confident. They did in 2019 all the way through the first half. They had the one hiccup, a holding call that led to an Oklahoma touchdown.
Chris Platt getting chased down.
31-10, halftime. Oklahoma's first possession, they score. Jermichael Hasty stripped by Bonito. They get it about midfield. They score. Game on. They lose. And then, of course, the Big 12 championship, Oklahoma, like they do, jumped out early after the way Baylor had almost pulverized them 2 weeks earlier or 2 or 3 weeks earlier. And then Baylor comes roaring back. Jacob Zeno. And the next thing you know, Chris
And that
Platt,
was when Platt got chased down. Yeah.
Yeah,
Got chased down from
Big 12
behind, and
championship game.
he's the fastest player on the team, but, had a bad angle or whatever the case may be. I know people made an argument that if they had a big screen on the other side of the field and he could have seen behind him, that maybe it would have mattered. It didn't matter. That was a great – that's why I picked Oklahoma. They always make the best plays at the end of the game against Baylor. Baylor can have a 21-point lead and blow it. And when they need a play, when that lead, goes away, they get chased down and fumble the football rolling into the end zone. Or
It's called OUDNA, right?
It's called Sooner Magic is what it's called.
Yeah,
that's what it's
back
called.
in the days of Barry Switzer.
No, that's still what it's called.
Yeah.
OUDNA is a recruiting thing that Lincoln Riley's been using, but no, that's Sooner Magic and always will be. And they've shown it over and over and over again in this series. And so that's why – when I boil it down, I really love Baylor's chances. I think they're fully capable of beating Oklahoma. I would be shocked if any outcome. I would be shocked by a blowout either way. And I would be shocked if Baylor doesn't play really well tomorrow. I think it'll be a great atmosphere. There's no reason for it not to be. And I think both teams know, what they're walking into, and that despite Baylor looking bad last week, it's not like they're just going to carry that performance over. They realize how bad they played, and that's what they've been working on all week. So, I don't know ultimately if Baylor has enough gas in the tank to get it done, and I defaulted to Oklahoma because I do think it's going to be that close, but they always have that Sooner magic at the end, whether it's chasing down a guy or sacking a guy or picking off a guy or whatever the case may be. They always make that play, and Baylor never does. They never hit the kill shot. When they have beaten Oklahoma, it's typically been by just handling the game, and you're not worried about a last-second field goal, or it's like when they went up to Norman. They just handled business and walked out of there and got the win.
And that night game beat the crap out of Oklahoma.
Beat the crap out of them on a Thursday night in Waco when the ball really started getting rolling back in 2013, I believe that was. They've had – but, we've named almost all their wins.
RG3.
The
last
four,
second.
Right? There's like 4 wins in the entire history of this series.
And
they're all the last 10 years.
Since the RG3 pass to Terrence Williams. Yeah.
No,
there have been 2 since.
There's been 2 since then. That Thursday night game was after that, and
I said started with 2011 when they beat Oklahoma when RG3 threw the touchdown pass to Terrence Williams was the first time they beat Oklahoma.
Yeah, you said they've not done it since then.
No. I said that's when they started. Okay, I mean.
I think you misspoke. I'm not. But they've beaten them a couple of times, and it's been one-sided. But for the most part, these have been close. OU's had their fair share of blowouts, no doubt about it. But for the most part, these last few years, outside of years when Baylor's had a massive coaching change, and even then, Matt Rule's first year, they only won 1 game, and they nearly knocked off Oklahoma in Waco.
Taylor Young, Jackknife, Baker Mayfield.
So they play each other tight, but every time it's Oklahoma making the play at the end or the couple of plays at the end.
Do you remember when you jumped into my arms when he threw that touchdown pass to Terrence Williams? That was awkward.
I was doing the internal PA, and I remember turning.
You jumped into my arms.
I remember turning to Richard Fogelman. Good friend, rest in peace, Richard. But I just was going, no way that just happened. But 28-3 all time in the series, and Oklahoma's won the last 7.
Yeah.
Cincinnati. How about this? Cincinnati.
So I actually gave them an extra win. They've only won 3 times, and we just named all 3 of them.
11, 13,
and 14.
And those were all blowouts, right?
11 was the last.
11 was okay. That was the Terrence Williams.
Cincinnati.
That was a close game.
Cincinnati fumbled. South Florida recovered. 1 play later, South Florida fumbled. Cincinnati recovered. 3 plays later, a 61-yard interception returned by South Florida down to the Cincinnati 2. Touchdown run, 7-0. 7 minutes, 8 seconds to go in the first quarter. Cincinnati on a big spotlight tonight. Not a very good thing. But it's early.
Yeah, and I don't know how big the spotlight is because that 2-7 team they're playing, but they do have a spotlight on them as a program.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, so I don't know how many people are actually watching this game. But, it is a team that has to win, has no choice but to win, and really can't afford to win in just a close contest again, because if they keep doing that, they're kind of proving the point of the committee in some ways.
So, we've seen what they've done with Oklahoma doing that.
Yeah. So they punished them for that, and I think it's pretty clear Oklahoma's a good team. So, Cincy's got to get it together. That's not a good start at all. Long way to go, though. But, you got no business losing to South Florida at this stage, and so we'll see what they do. I have confidence they'll win this game, but, not the start that you wanted, no doubt.
All right, from the chat room, all sorts of back and forth in the Cincinnati and South Florida Turnover Fest. All right, when we come back, Scott Drew and Baylor unveil the national championship banner and the rings tonight. It was whoever they can get to come back and those who were a part of the team a year ago, and there's a chunk of them back, as they play Incarnate Word to open up the season. Everybody else, or most everybody, kind of tipped off. There were some great games, the Kentucky, Duke, Kansas, and North Carolina, whatever. Those four, and there's been other ones. I think Texas has Gonzaga this weekend. And it's Baylor and Incarnate Word. And when we come back, the national championship basketball coach, Scott Drew, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco. It's a great time of the year for craft beer. It's always a great time of the year for craft beer, but right here at the end of the fall and in the beginning of the winter is great when they start kind of bringing in some of those holiday brews. Steve Chapman will churn his roster of those beers in that gorgeous walk-in freezer. And they're known far and wide for their high-end array of bourbons. They have so many good ones. Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, Garrison Brothers, Brush Creek, Buffalo Trace, Weller, Pinhook, and Bardstown. And look, if there's something they don't have at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, it's probably just not shipped into the state of Texas. I'll just tell you that right now. You probably have to go outside the state to get it. Their selection is so good, and they're always bringing in new things and changing things up and having new things for you to try. It's a fantastic place, great customer service, a speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook or Instagram.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full-service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice, or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com, or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
National Championship. Head basketball coach Scott Drew from Baylor on Sikkim 365 Radio. How does that sound?
I like that.
You know, I've seen you. You've been everywhere. The championship trophy's been everywhere. You're about to unveil the banner, which is amazing. Has ever since that game in Indianapolis, has it been a blur, or has it been a kind of just a long grinding deal?
It's definitely been a blur, and no grind to it. Nothing but joy, especially because you're constantly coming in interactions with people that you haven't seen that are so excited, and then they tell you they've watched the championship game 10 times. They got the championship jerseys or shirts or hats and everything else that you can buy commemorating the championship. So to see their excitement and joy definitely is made it. Coaches always want to help people reach their goals and dreams, and seeing people happy, that's why we do what we do.
I had a coach one time tell me to another young coach, he said, "Hey, congratulations, you won a championship. Now it gets more difficult." Is that true?
I think every season's difficult and every year is difficult. Life is difficult. So you're always having ups and downs. You're always having challenges. And once you think you got it figured out, then you have some kind of injury, illness, suspension. Something comes into effect. And look at football. Happy Joey gets a head job, but I mean that's an adjustment in the middle of the year. There's just different things that happen at different times that just like life, and that's why athletics prepares you for life, because you're constantly handling success and adversity, and how you respond dictates just what kind of outcomes you have as a team.
I know every year's different. You have a lot of players back, and you lost a lot. We know 4 great players, but has like, hey, are we getting enough attention or recognition? Has that been brought up enough among this particular team, or does that even get brought up?
It hasn't really been brought up yet from the standpoint. Up to this point, we mostly spend our time concentrating, focusing, and controlling what we can control. And then as you start getting ready for the season and games, that's when in conference play, that's when you'll start using more motivation. But right now, it's more just what we can control, and what other people say doesn't really affect us. It's just us getting better. And, you know, to win a championship, to be successful, you have to have a player-led team. You have to have great chemistry. You have to avoid the injury bug. And you're always going to have some injuries and illnesses. But like the last couple of years, we've really been blessed with not many players missing practice. And this year, for instance, we've already had quite a bit of injuries and longer sustaining injuries. And because of that, it's made it more difficult for us as a staff just to know our rotations and who plays well with who, just because we've had guys out for extended periods of time. The good news is we're getting everybody healthy. The bad news is it might take a couple of weeks in the season for us to figure out who plays best with who and what rotations and lineups are the best.
How have the younger stars, and I say that because of how highly they recruited Jeremy Kendall, and others, how, and I know Langston's the one that's hurt, and then of course you have a Kenjo and Bonner, how have they meshed in like your others have meshed in recent years?
Yeah, our staff's done a tremendous job, and assistant coaches get all the credit for bringing in high-quality character individuals that are talented but really fit our culture. So they've been a joy to coach. They've really worked hard. They've bought in everything that we've asked. The only difference is, and at the end of the day, is you can't replace experience either in your system. And even though James has been in college for 4 years, and this is his 4th year, and Dale's been in, this will be his 3rd year, and then we have 3 talented freshmen, still it's year 1 in our system. And you look at last year, you lose Jared, who was here 3 years, Davion 3 years, Maceo, who was here 3 years, Mark, who was here 18 years. You had a lot of, he just got that one.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of guys that had experience not only in college, but more importantly in our program and in the Big 12. So that'll be an adjustment. The good thing is we return several guys that do have experience, so it's a nice blend of experience and talent. At the same time, I mean, like you said, you are replacing a lot when it's 79% of your assists, 52% of your rebounds, 64% of your scoring.
You know what's coming down the pipeline with realignment and the expansion of the Big 12, losing Texas and Oklahoma, and that may be a couple of more years. But the teams you have that are coming in, a lot of people just look at football and what you have coming in with Houston and Cincinnati, Brigham Young, and whatever UCF can become as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you look at basketball, everything goes by analytics, and we've had the #1 conference in the country since 2014, and then you do the same simulations according to Ken Palm, and you put in the 4 new schools, take out Texas and Oklahoma, and we'd still have the #1 conference in the country. So very good football additions, but also very good basketball additions. And I mean, you look, Houston was in a Final Four with us last year. BYU, a lot of tradition. Cincinnati, especially when Coach Huggins was there, was a national power. And then Central Florida, most people call a sleeping giant.
Scott Drew, Baylor men's basketball coach with the Sikkim 365 radio. Have you reached out to Coach Boynton at Oklahoma State with what they've had to deal with in the last week?
Yeah, right away I did, and we went through the only season of no non-conference, and those things are so hard, and always try to be sympathetic and reach out to people go through experiences like that.
You're about to launch this season. The banners drop. Do you like your schedule? I know you're in a couple of those classics. Do you like the way it's set up to set you up for what you need to be and find out who you are?
Most definitely, because the Battle for Atlantis is probably the toughest tournament in the non-conference schedule that you can find, MTE-wise. And then if you look at home games with Stanford and Villanova, that gets you used to great home games and crowds and excitement. And then you go on the road with Alabama and Oregon, 2 very tough teams. So we'll definitely be battle-tested and ready for conference. And we know what makes the Big 12 so good in all sports, but especially in basketball, is it's so tough night in and night out, and thus it's been the #1 ranked conference for that reason.
You've never changed. You are who you are from the time before you even walked through the door. How do you keep everybody else on the same keel, that you don't get ahead of yourself, that you do, and that culture that we've talked about of joy?
Yeah.
How do you not change?
I think iron sharpens iron, and we have a staff that all helps make each other better each and every day. And I think holding each other accountable, and obviously pride cometh before the fall. We all understand that. So Jesus came to serve, not be served. So we're going to stay humble. We're going to stay hardworking, and hopefully bring a lot of joy to a lot of people.
Thank you, Scott. You have in many years. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Scott Drew, Baylor men's basketball coach, Sikkim 365 Radio.
All right, that's Scott Drew. How about the moment tonight? How about the run they made? How about they obliterated Indianapolis in the Final Four against both Houston and then the mighty Gonzagas?
Yeah, that's going to be, always a memory, a very strong memory for a lot of people. But, man, just the way they took down Gonzaga was just one of the most incredible sports things I've witnessed. And I mean, as far as, like, personal things, obviously – following the team for many years now, and seeing what they've been through and the trials and tribulations, and And Paul's seen it, up close firsthand. I've been just an outside observer, but a big fan of Scott Drew. And to see them, get to that point, I kind of felt at the time, like as good as they were, I was like, well, if it's typical Baylor, and I don't mean this as some sort of insult, but if it's typical Baylor, they're going to go to the championship game, probably get beat by 15, and, it'd be like, well, that was good. I mean, because that's what happens, right? Like, that's what always happens. And instead, they went in there and not only beat them, but just beat the dog mess out of them. And that was one of the most just emphatic statement championship wins I think I've ever seen. We've seen Alabama's a great team, and they're going to go in the championship game and beat somebody. But, like, Baylor was not expected to win that game, much less go in there and dominate, and they did that.
Well,
and
it was a love fest with Gonzaga.
Yeah,
no question.
no, of course, but it was just incredible how, they took that and that drive and all that talk, and they just let it simmer and let it sizzle and let it bubble, and then when the moment came, they went out and they let their walking do their talking, and I'll never forget that. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, the first 3 or 4 possessions or so, when you had 3 or 4 offense and defensive rebounds, and you saw flow and obviously Vital and company. I miss some of those guys that were a part of that team. Jared Maceo, Mark Vital, obviously Davion Mitchell, who's had a great start as a rookie. But the championship banner will be lowered tonight at 6:45. I just saw a tweet from a couple of national writers who were in town to cover the event as well. And that's it. They play Incarnate Word tonight. We're going to wrap this up at 6 o'clock, get in the car, drive over to the Farrell Center, and I hope battle. Hard place to find a parking spot. Again, tomorrow we'll be on the air at 9 o'clock with our pregame show. Baylor, Oklahoma, tomorrow at 9. We're not done. We still have a few more minutes here than Paul's top 5. Cincinnati and South Florida, early second quarter now, are tied up at 7 apiece. What a run it was. I mean, I was fortunate, and I was a fortunate person to go up there. Went up there thinking, okay, am I going to be up here for 2 or 3 days? Because in the tournament, you don't know. And remember, Paul, down Villanova was beating them up. And then here comes the turnovers, and here comes that win, and then boom, boom, boom. Arkansas, Houston, and then, of course, Gonzaga as well.
I called it the whole time.
No, you did. I was always like, oh, God, this is the night. No,
we're on our way to Tampa. They're playing Texas, and that was the last game before the COVID shutdown for what, almost 3 weeks, right? Or whatever it was, 20 days. And, I'm watching the game on the plane, and Smokey's like, we're kind of texting back and forth. He's like, oh, here it goes. Oh, my gosh. We're at the baggage claim. I'm like, oh, they just went up by, Texas hit a 3. He's like, oh, they cut the lead to 7. By the time we got on the tram to the baggage claim, Baylor had gone up by like 22 points. And that was just kind of the team they were. And so I'm very excited to see this new, team, the guys that are back from last year, the new guys, guys who haven't played that much. They've got a lot of talent up and down the roster and depth. They're going to contend in the Big 12. They're going to be one of the top 3 teams. We'll just see if any lack of experience jumps up and bites them. But Scott Drew's built a team of guys that are here through the program, and then peppers in the transfers now. And the transfers before were here for 3 years. So it wasn't like Texas has right now, which is all guys who are transferring and playing now. So I think it's going to take some time to build some chemistries there, and I think Baylor probably has an edge on them and everybody else because those guys have all been here, except for James Akinjo and the freshman. But well,
there's a kid that came in. He probably won't play much this year. It came in from that.
Barrett. Yeah.
He's going to be able to take him a little while, but it'll be fun. The only thing about last year is you just couldn't always get to a lot of the games. What?
This is why we're going to 6:07. Let's take a break so we can get back. We got the top 5.
Yeah.
5:49. We'll come back with Paul Catalina's top 5. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak, and Armstrong Sims, 365 Sports.
Most of you know that supply chain challenges have made cars and trucks hard to find. The good news is GM's announced that production, yes, it's slowed, but cars and trucks are coming. So contact Richard Carr right now to get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they are being shipped. You can drive a new car or truck sooner when you get on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list. Get your car or truck first as they arrive. You can get a Sierra from Richard Carr if you're looking for a pickup out there and you're looking for the best pickup. It's got an ideal combination of power and strength. Combined with refinement and luxury, Sierra is the best truck on the road. If you're looking at SUVs, consider the Buick lineup of SUVs. They've got size, versatility to fit every lifestyle, or maybe you would be interested in the combination and sophistication of a new Cadillac XT6 or Escalade. Cars and trucks, they are coming, so call or contact Richard Carr online with what you want and let them get you on that inbound vehicle list. and you can get your vehicle before anyone else. If you're looking, though, to save and drive today, Richard Carr does have a whole bunch of premium pre-owned cars and trucks. Each pre-owned goes through a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot, and with dozens of lenders, they say yes when others say no. 100% credit approval is always the goal. And for those in the Waco area, Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership, so give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. And for those here in the Waco area, Richard Carr, the customer service is off the charts. So check them out today. Again, if you're looking for something to get in today, they got plenty of premium pre-owns. But if you're looking for something brand new, get on that inbound vehicle list today. Richard Carr, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to ChampionSalonandBarber.com.
Top 5 other people Bo Davis needs to yell at. These are 5 groups of people that I would like to see Bo Davis yell at like he did the team on the bus. I think they need it.
All right.
Number 5, bad tippers.
Yeah, I used to work delivering pizzas when I was in college, and although there was a commission and gas and how much tips.
Here's the thing that most people don't know is that we set up our current restaurant system based on how people worked in the Great Depression. The Great Depression was 80 years ago. And we are still more than 80 years ago. And we're still operating on that same economic system. So please tip people.
Do our government officials make the same money as 80 years ago?
No.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Why?
Armstrong did, yeah.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm like Dwight Schrute. I only tip people for jobs that I couldn't do myself. So I won't tip a waiter, but I will tip my doctor.
Fair. Good point.
What in the hell?
I won't tip a pizza delivery guy because if Smokey can do it, anyone can do it.
Whoa! My brum-bum.
Yeah,
okay. Number 4.
Number 4, people who take their shoes off on airplanes.
I don't know that I've ever even thought about this one much.
No, it's happened to me a couple times where I'll turn to the right on the elbow and there's like a foot.
Oh, yeah.
With a sock or a bare foot. And I'm like, what are you doing?
What's the guy doing with his foot in the air?
What do you put it on the thing and you can, why?
Yeah.
Why?
No, you're right. Nothing should be released from the system.
Yeah, that's I mean, I guess get comfortable, but make sure your feet smell okay.
I don't think I've ever taken my shoes off, but I have on occasion.
No,
like you had
understand
an itch
the
and
rules.
You scratch it a little bit.
You understand the rules of polite society.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing is we got just so many people who are so uneducated when it comes to just simple manners. It's frightening.
Like
it
driving
really
in the left-hand lane of a highway?
I mean, just in general, just the lack of courtesy, the lack of care that so many people have nowadays. Like, I don't know if it was the generation of parents. I don't know if it was, I don't know what it was. People will blame the internet. They'll blame,
social media.
And all that is a factor, but there is absolutely and it's not just one generation. It's like across the board. I mean, we're seeing adults throw temper tantrums at a very alarming rate.
Yeah.
So
fans fighting in the stands every other week.
People have lost their minds, and just the common courtesy has gone out the window for just self-interest, and it really sucks.
Yeah. Back to common courtesy. Number 3, people who don't take their shopping carts back.
Oh, I hate this so much.
I
freaking hate
maybe
this, man.
one.
That's the laziest.
Yeah.
It's the laziest thing in the world.
I remember at Sam's. I was at Sam's which is obviously you got heavy stuff because you got these big long. And I had a pretty heavy cart full, and I parked it behind my car. But there was a woman that was to my left, and she was in kind of a little hot rod type. And she loaded up her car, took her cart, pushed it up against where she got in her car, and left it right there. You know what I did? I saw it, and yes, this is how I am. I went as quickly as I could, stopped my cart, parked it behind her car, unloaded it into my car, and then walked around, got her cart, and said, I guess this was just out of your way. Well,
I'm just sure you were the ass, because she's just. I mean, I see that. I just see the random buggy that people just leave there, and I think the most maddening is the one the buggy's right next to the cart.
Yeah,
it's like you got it all the way there, but you couldn't do the 2 more feet so that you help out like the teenager who all he does is get his car. It's like, dude, have some freaking decency. I mean, it's just lazy.
I worked at Target in Tallahassee the summer after my sophomore, junior year. And if you've ever had to wrangle carts in the summer, believe me, it's not fun.
It's cold.
They're cold.
That's
when the weather, it's bad.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, tech support at your cable company.
Yeah.
None of them. I mean, it's very rare that you get, hey, this is a problem. And then they need the Bo Davis, the transfer portal's right there.
That's if you get a human.
That's if you get a human,
I'd say just tech support it anywhere. Because, half the time it's a recorded voice. Half the time it's somebody you can't understand. And, it's just, it's stupid.
Yeah, okay. I would love I don't know. I still think the cart thing goes ahead of this.
The cart thing, it annoys me to no end. It's the ultimate level of laziness and just, I don't care. Let somebody else do it. You scum.
Especially if you put it in an empty parking space in a crowded lot.
Yeah.
So then, somebody's trying to get maybe the person who's pulling in has their handicap spots are gone. They got a bum leg, and they have to get as close as they can.
It doesn't matter, Paul. Old Charles had to get home quicker. He couldn't take the 10 seconds to just, help out the guy whose job it is to corral the buggies because, after all, he'll do it. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. And number 1, Congress. I would love Bo Davis, all of them, instead of the State of the Union address. When all the joint session of Congress comes in, instead of Joe Biden coming up there and doing whatever he's going to rammer through, just have Bo Davis come up there and go, I don't like you MFers' attitudes. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Oh, I mean, can you imagine the shocked faces and all those stiff mannequins that run our country if they actually had somebody yell at them the way they probably should have been yelled at, multiple times throughout their lives? But man, they're so detached from reality. They wouldn't know what to do. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see just Congress sit and
Nancy
Bo Davis.
Pelosi might blink.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what it would do. But no, like it would be a beautiful thing to watch him go to town on those folks, no doubt.
All right, Paul, great stuff. Great job. Hey, tomorrow we'll have our predictions of the Big 12 and the rest of the top 25. We'll have some of the interviews from today on on Baylor in Oklahoma, and among the other games in the Big 12 as well, and a couple of other interviews on college football. For Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, Texas high school football playoffs started last night. This is day number 2, week number 1. Armstrong Sims, thank you. Back at it tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, right here on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Thanks to you who watch, listen, chat room, text, call, and, of course, our great sponsors. I'm David Smoak. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.